I run a supper club. Actually, no, I run a secret supper club. And actually, I run the subcontinent's only food startup that operated in an anonymous fashion for 4 years. So let me rewind and give you more context about why someone in their right mind decided to run a business secretly. I studied and worked in England and moved back to India after a considerable gap. So the Delhi that I returned to truly blew my mind because the cultural fabric of our city was bursting at its seams. We now had access to some of the finest art, theater, stand-up comedy, music, gigs, dance recitals, what have you. But for some reason, the conversations and social mingling wasn't mirroring this cultural shift within the city. Everyone was massively comfortable within their cliques, and there wasn't any legitimate opportunity to meet new, interesting, and like-minded individuals, which is why I hatched a social experiment, so to speak. A social experiment that defied the rules of our concrete jungle. Now, the idea behind Delhi Secret Supper Club is very, very simple. The idea is to bring like-minded, fascinating, and interesting people under one roof and bond over fantastic food and banter. The mission is to ignite meaningful conversation between individuals that don't ordinarily have the opportunity to meet one another. So with that in mind, I would send out these massively personalized and researched emails to a select set of people within the city I thought who were doing a great job. Now, for the hashtag generation in this room, that is the definition of stalker alert. So they had about 24 hours to register interest with no given information about things like location, menu, fellow diners, nothing. And also they weren't allowed to come with a friend, which is everyone's security blanket. We truly wanted to respect that 6 degrees of separation. Now, from that first secret supper back in March 2013, DSSE has now curated and hosted over 200 such social secret experiments. You must be all wondering why I ran DSSE anonymously and secretly. I feel like already running a business in India is tricky, so why did I add another layer of complexity and challenge to the business model? Why did I try run a business without a face or without a name in a time where young businesses and new concepts need to rustle up as much noise and excitement and buzz for their concept to have any kind of impact? And my reason is exactly because of that. I wanted to turn the ideology on its head of what this new age definition of marketing stands for. I wanted to turn the industry on its head. And I wanted the product to speak and allow the product to take shape of everyone's imagination. So now that I'm out of my secret cave, so to speak, I'm always asked about how I plotted this secret, undercover, dual life. Neither the restaurants, nor my members, nor our international brand partners, no one knew who was behind DSSE. Only my immediate family and 2 of my closest friends knew, and they were sworn to secrecy not to tell a soul. But I think in hindsight, I genuinely feel that they never really truly understood a word of what I was saying, so even if they wanted to tell someone, they couldn't have. I would beg my mother, who's an early sleeper, to wake up at ridiculous hours like 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. to help me wrap up post-event formalities at the restaurant, cafe, bar, whatever. And in order for her not to get recognized, we would bully her into wearing this hideous wig and change her entire getup, and then I would drive her to the location. In fact, I have actually hidden on the rooftop or the kitchen or the bathrooms of these, the venues to make sure that everything was going on as per plan. For the longest time, the industry actually thought that the founders of Delhi Secret Supper Club was this group of gentlemen based out of Bombay. So I guess the big boys club could only pull off something like this. In fact, I was dating someone during the course of DSSE, and he had no idea I was the founder, and understandably ended the relationship because I was suspiciously always busy. So now thereby to legitimize my busyness, because technically what was I doing? I was undercover, right? So to legitimize my busyness, I had to come up with 2 new companies which acted as my day job. And also my team was told 1 month before our big revelation on our 4th anniversary earlier this year. So I suppose all the Nancy Drews and Famous Fives and Secret Sevens that I read as a kid came to good use now. So what started off as a really humble social experiment kind of became and evolved into India's key curators of immersive dining and networking experiences. From that first set of 30 members back in 2013, we are now over 175,000 users across platform. From 20,000 hits, we now get traffic of over 750,000 hits every month on the DSSE e-magazine, which kind of champions the cause of the long read format. We are revenue generating, we're self-sustaining, and continue to be so. So when I was invited to give this TED Talk, and now after interacting with a lot of you today, I realized that I am in a room full of extremely bright, energetic, and enthusiastic individuals who are the future titans of whatever industry they join. The reason I'm here today telling my story is not to tom-tom my business concept. It is actually to ignite that one crazy business idea that has been sitting in your head for very long, but has been dismissed as impossible to actually implement. It is actually, the reason is also to remind you all that each one of you has the courage and passion to create India's next disruptive, cool business concept. And all you actually need is that creative input of the wig to make it happen. You may all speak with 100 more entrepreneurs during the course of your tenure here, and they're all going to say the same thing. It is a leap of faith. There is no template, there is no ready reckoner or risk calculator to tell you whether your business plan is going to tank or fly. Now, I'm not that person who's going to tell you to listen to your gut about things. Because if any of you sitting here are like me, then currently your gut is debating whether to get a 4-cheese pizza or broccoli soup for dinner. And if anyone's deciding to get the soup, that's your cue to leave. I'm kidding. Once a management consultant, always a management consultant, which is why I would urge you to back your concepts and business ideas with solid research. Even if it's really basic and simple, write it down. Write down your plan of action about what it is, what is the objective, do the numbers stack up, what problem are you hoping to solve via your concept. When I started DSSE, I didn't have any comparative case studies or benchmark statistics, which is why I had to be doubly careful and precise with my process flow and roadmap and meticulous to-do lists about how I see this concept coming out and playing into action. Because what's going to happen is that when you're consumed with doubt and you're losing focus, this is the concept note that becomes your ready reckoner Bible that is going to bolt you back into action. My second piece of advice is a slight party pooper, so please excuse me. Given that I work in the food and beverage industry of India, I'm constantly volleyed with very condescending remarks about how my life must be a never-ending party with tons of food and socializing. Now, whilst I am a social being and I live in the hope that one day I will marry a pizza, that's not all I do. Alongside all of that, you also have to keep in mind that I brainstorm with my team on an everyday basis. We got to like build marketing decks. We got to meet potential investors. I pay my taxes. I got to file my returns. I got to like build new marketing decks. I got to hire, fire, do all of that, and somehow also pack in about like 7 hours of sleep. So I think the point that I'm trying to make is become an entrepreneur for the right reason. Do not get into it because of the outward glamour of the concept or the fun of creating your own business. Most definitely, do not get into becoming an entrepreneur for the very deceiving allure of being your own boss or seeing your other founder friends being splashed across, magazine covers. Do it only if you have a compelling business case and a concept and a skill set to match that. So if you think you have the aptitude and the attitude and the gumption to do it, go for it. Because I can tell you this, even though the process is extremely enriching and very self-fulfilling, it is painful and it is constantly going to try to tear you down. Which brings me into my third piece of advice. You have to learn how to become your own cheerleader. Become your own coach. When I kicked off Delhi Secret Supper Club, I didn't have too many avenues to voice my concerns or ask too many questions because, I was undercover. So during that course, I decided that I had to become my own cheerleader, my own champion, my own mentor, my own boss, my own homie, my own everything. It is a lonely and painful process, and things like founder depression are real concepts. So to battle through that process, I decided the power of self-motivation. So that's the number one thing that you really all have to understand about self-motivation during this process. So things like the really cheesy stuff about giving yourself a pep talk in front of the mirror or just truly celebrating those small wins, it all makes a huge, huge impact. You also have to surround yourself with positive visionaries. Cut out all those negative forces that subconsciously bring you down, because it is in the moment of crises that you truly understand the power of your objective advice and self-advice, because that is the perfect weighted average of precision, logic, emotion, objectivity, and context. Ever since I came out of my hiding spot, everyone around me has been asking why I did what I did. And my constant, never-ending response to that is, why not? I kicked off DSSE at a time where other companies were pushing out rehashed versions in an already cluttered and hyper-marketed space. DSSE was an outlier. We were working in an environment where people were trying to push themselves out to gain self-recognition or glory. But DSSE chose to let the citizens of Delhi become the hero of the project. And in an environment where young companies only gained street cred if they got funded, DSSE managed to build a profitable model and a healthy balance sheet, which is self-sustaining. Which is why I always answer saying, why not? Today we're celebrating innovation, and we've had great opportunity to hear some fantastic stories throughout the day. So I would say if you had to take back one key takeaway from this conversation, it would be this. If you have this niggling business idea that has been sitting in your mind or gut for a long period of time, it's time to get that bum up and do something about it. Create a compelling business idea and then execute it with the precision of like this old Italian grandmother who handcrafts, every piece of pasta in her own kitchen. Mastery it's a continual process. There is no finish line to this journey called entrepreneurship. It is evasive, it is exhausting, but I can assure you that the journey is going to wrap you with this sense of sense of achievement and contentment that is warmer than that 4-cheese pizza I was talking about. Thank you.